When building a guitar, you always want to put your mark on it, something that is uniquely yours. Besides the pickup configuration, the color, the finish, and hardware updates, every guitar needs a headstock bearing the maker's mark. What that mark is doesn't matter as much as what it stands for. My original concept was to match the headstock with the body finish, meaning a dark blue and black color. My plan was to use waterslide decals with a logo I designed. Unfortunately, it's much harder to do waterslide logos on a dark background. You have to use special waterslide paper that has a white background rather than being transparent. It seems like this makes the waterslide paper ever so slightly thicker, which makes it very tough to bury under a finish like true oil. It requires a ridiculous number of coats to level it off and make it seamless, and I never could quite get rid of it completely. As a matter of fact, it looked pretty terrible, but I took a break and left it that way after finishing the rest of the guitar. A couple of months later, I had purchased a small home laser engraver specifically for the purpose of engraving my logo on my guitars. After practicing for a while with the engraver, I got brave enough to try redoing this fiasco of a headstock. I sanded off the old design and started with a fresh raw wood surface. I redesigned my logo to something simpler and more laser friendly. I set it all up, positioned the headstock in the laser, and just went for it. Here you can see it engraving the logo. So far, so good. The name came out great. Nice, deep engraving, clean lines. When it got to the graphical part of the logo, the laser got a bit too aggressive and scorched the wood. The wood was charred. I tried to use my Dremel to carve it out by hand, and honestly, I think it only made things worse. The only way I could save this was to carve out a big hole where the logo was and insert a new piece of wood with the logo already lasered onto it. This solution actually looked like it was going to work. One thing I noticed was that the hole I carved out was slightly too big on one side, so the gap was noticeable. So I decided to laser cut a pick-shaped ring that I could glue on top of it to cover up the gaps. After some sanding, painting, and finishing, this was the result. I'm pretty happy with how it ultimately turned out, but the journey was a long and frustrating one. One last thing I did was to laser cut a custom truss rod cover to replace the cheap plastic one that came with the kit. It's not perfect, but it's much better than before. Overall, I think the headstock now looks pretty nice on the Blue Beast. Sometimes the third time really is the charm.